Hey everyone, and welcome back to another great eShop deals highlight video, where we look at what, in my opinion, is one of the best eShop deals for the week. And this week I put it to a vote, and what won out was the TAKEOVER. So basically, this game has hit its new lowest price ever at only $5.99 because it is 70% off, and on top of it, the deal should be around all the way up to October 7th. Now this is a 2D side-scrolling beat-em-up. It takes a lot of cues from the old Streets of Rage franchise. I would say more in cue with the older Streets of Rage than the newer one, but nonetheless, it does take a lot of cues from that franchise. Now, as usual, we'll be going through about 10 to 15 minutes of gameplay, talking about the game, and by the end of the video, I do think that you'll have a pretty good idea if this is a game you want to pick up or not. Now, I've started a brand new game to make sure to not ruin the surprise of who the unlockable character is, because I really hate doing spoilers in these type of videos. But basically, I wanted to show you nonetheless that to begin with, you'll have a choice of 3 characters. You will have your powerhouse Connor, which is basically hits a lot harder but has lower speed. You have Ethan, that is sort of the mid-range guy who is just basically balanced everywhere. And then lastly, you'll have a Megan, which is Ethan's girlfriend, and she is, on the other hand, is a lot quicker, but her power level is a bit lower. Now, I will be choosing Ethan today. He's the character I know the best. I know his combos a little bit. So basically, I'll be able to demonstrate a little more by using him. So here we are in one of the earlier stages. Now, I chose a specific stage because it will fit perfectly in our 10 to 15 minute time frame. Now, what's important to know about this game is, contrary to other beat-em-ups, this one is actually divided up the attacks into punch and kick mechanics. And there's actually a lot of combos in the game that you can basically learn, and you can theoretically have infinite combos. And it makes the game a lot funner once you learn those combos, because rather than knocking people down every 10 seconds with an auto combo, you'll be able to basically take them out in one combo. So I do think that this is a game that if you do decide to pick up and you do decide to play, it is worth taking some time to learn some of the more advanced combos. Also, there's a lot of items in interaction with the game. Basically, like you see here, we dropped some exploding tanks, and you have to watch out for those because they can damage you as well. There's a lot of pickups, all standard fare for your side-scrolling beat-em-up. But overall, this game is actually a pretty solid beat-em-up. If you saw my top 10 list, this game was at the top, but it still made it. And right now, for only $6, you can pick it up. So in my opinion, this is a definite great deal for this week. By the way, I also chose one of the first stages to make sure that I'd be able to talk to all of you at the same time as playing, because whether or not, it's going to take a little bit of concentration on my part. Now, basically, you can also grab your enemies, and basically, these are all standard fare, once again, for side-scrolling beat-em-ups. There are some additional mechanics that I'll show you as we get through the game. One of the important ones I'm going to show you right now is that you can actually shoot a gun. So basically, if you hold down the ZR trigger and hit the A button, you'll be able to fire a sidearm. It is basically just like a slight super attack, I would say. Each character has a maximum number of bullets that it can carry, and once you hit that number, you're better off using a few, just like I did right there, to make sure that you're not wasting any future pickups. We're working on it at the same time, but there is also a rage meter, as you can see in the middle, that we're filling up, and also a super gauge under it. Now, hopefully, we'll be picking up enough things to be able to use the super gauge by the end of this stage. It normally fills up pretty much at every stage, so it should not be an issue. Now, I'm not doing too well this game because I'm talking to all of you, but nonetheless, I'm going to start focusing a little more, and we will work our way through the stage. You also have, as you saw there, a super attack that is in a lot of these games, uses a little bit of your health, but basically clears the screen, and it's great for when you're surrounded. Just as in its predecessor, or I would say inspiration, Streets of Rage, you can either do a directed special attack, meaning that it hits only one enemy in front of you, or you can do more of a cloud clearing one, like the explosion mechanic that I did just there. So basically, we are working our way through the stage here. You have these obstacles that they will throw at you from time to time. You have to try to move out of the way. Sometimes you have to knock them out of the way. It really depends on the mechanic. But overall, this is a well-rounded beat-em-up in my opinion. And like I said, when you're picking it up, like today, for $6, it is, in my opinion, one of the best pickups for the week. If we look at maybe a few of the downsides that some people will mention about this game is, yes, the enemy patterns do become repetitive because there isn't the highest variety of enemy types in this game if you compare it to some of the bigger franchises, but nonetheless, I do think there's enough to keep it interesting till the end. And they always try to introduce at least one new enemy per stage. Now, the game ultimately is divided into 7 stages. There are also a few bonus type stages that I'm not sure we're going to get to in this video, but they are quite unique in their genre. You can see online, some are an afterburner type of bonus stage. Another one is a 80s fake 3D racing type stage, but ultimately they are very entertaining without becoming too difficult. So now our rage bar is filled. What that means is that basically when you want to activate your rage bar, you can hold down the L trigger and basically it'll activate the rage bar. Here's a weapon that we're going to pick up. We're going to clear this crowd using our automatic weapon. It's sort of a freebie here when you get one of those because it has a certain number of uses. You get to eliminate basically a bunch of enemies and you can move on. The crowbars and other weapons are useful as well. However, I do find it's a little bit tough to do crowd control with the weapons. So if you're in a stage with a big crowd, the weapons can actually work as a sort of almost downside. And also your enemies you basically knock them down with one hit, so it is a little bit annoying, especially if you're trying to go quickly through the game, because you have to wait till they get back up to hit them again and so forth. But ultimately, they can still give you a hands up in some parts of the game. So here we are, we're going to work our way through. Now, I'm a little low, meaning that I'm probably going to activate my rage bar to try to get some extra, to make it to some extra health before I die. When you're in rage mode, you basically take no damage. You are invincible to all damage. And on top of it, you deal out a lot more. So as you can see, I'm taking out these guys pretty quick because I'm in rage mode. Now, my point is try to get to a health refill. Now, when we have these motorcycle guys, I like shooting them off their motorcycles. It is a little bit more efficient. Unfortunately, I didn't find any life, so we're going to hopefully get some in these crates here. And yes, there's a burger, which is a full health bar. So we got saved there pretty well. I use my rage meter, like I said, often when I'm low on health to sort of save a life to basically try and find a fill up. Now, as we're working our way through the stage, like I said, you can learn some combos. I'm also getting warmed up here a little bit, so we're starting to do a little better. But basically, this is a game that, honestly, you can also play in co-op mode. So if you want to play with a friend, you can play in 2-player co-op. Unfortunately, 3-player is not available, although there's at least 3 available characters, but you can play in 2-player co-op. And the game stands up pretty well on the Nintendo Switch, whether you're alone or in 2-player mode. At least, basically, graphics-wise, the game has not too many issues. Now, I do know that the graphical style, some people will like it, some people won't, because, you know, it is a little bit, I would say, chalky in the movements of your characters, but nonetheless, I do still find that it is a pretty pleasing graphical style once you get used to it. It is very comic book inspired, and you will see that in between each major stage, there are also some comic book cutscenes. Now, these comic book cutscenes, you'll see throughout the game. I won't ruin any for you. They are voice acted, but some are really hit and miss. Some are actually pretty great and pretty funny, while others, you know, the animations were sort of off-putting. But nonetheless, I do still find that it's interesting that they did build in a tiny storyline. Basically, if I fill you in that storyline, I'm not reading anything because you all get that in the entrance cutscene. Ethan is a police officer, and unfortunately, your city is being taken over by the gangs. Ethan is one of the only police officers that is trying to make a difference out there. So basically, they kidnap his daughter in a way to sort of keep him out of the mix and let the gangs complete their takeover, which is the title of the game. Well, Ethan, his girlfriend, and his best friend Connor jump into the action to basically take care of the situation. So here we are at the second part of the second stage, and this is sort of a time trial stage, where basically you have these barriers that are slowing you down while you have that truck moving towards you, and the point is you have to move your way through the barriers, through the enemies, before you get hit by the plow. Overall, it is a pretty quick part of the stage, but it's still fun that they do vary a little bit the gameplay, giving these little sub-objectives in different stages. But yeah, if we continue on with the storyline bit, so yeah, he is trying to save his daughter. That is basically the whole the whole idea of the mission. That is why you're on this sort of, you know, rage quest to beat up all these gang members. It's because you're trying to save your daughter. And basically each character here is invested in the storyline because, as I said, the female character is Ethan's girlfriend, the mother, you know, the mother of the child, and Connor is their best friend that, well, he's just like sort of the action hero that just wants to beat everyone up and likes any chance to basically throw himself into some action. So overall, it's your standard like 80s action movie fare here. But nonetheless, it is a funny storyline to work through, and what is also good about this game is it recognizes the fact that it's one of those ridiculous 80s movies. And as the cutscenes go by, you'll see they become more and more humorous, and the characters sort of get more and more aware of how ridiculous the stages and the storyline is working out to be. So, as I said, pretty quick stage right there. We're done the second part of the second level. Now we're going to move on to the third and final part and look at our first boss. So here we are at the third and final part, and basically, depending on the length of how this video is turning out to be, maybe we'll have time to throw in one of those bonus stages so that you can get an idea of the crazy fun that can be had in this game. So let's use our super clearing move there. Now I still have my super that is all geared up. I know I could have used it earlier, but honestly, I normally just save it for the boss fight. As right now, that's why I'm not using any of my rage meter, because I really want to enter the boss fight with both a rage meter and my super. It really makes the bosses a little easy, and this is maybe another one of the downside to this game, is that if you like beat 'em ups that are very challenging, I would say this one is unfortunately on the easier side of the beat 'em ups. But for some people, that's what they're looking for. They're looking for just some button mashing fun where basically you don't need to practice a whole lot to be able to finish the stages. Now, I'm not saying you won't die and you won't have to use a continue, but the good thing is that even if you have to use a continue, you don't even have to restart all of the stage. You only restart the part that you were at. So basically, it is a very approachable beat 'em up in my opinion. And like I said, learning the combos is completely optional. You can perfectly work your way through the game without it. I just really think that it adds to the whole overall experience to really learn the combos. It actually makes the game a lot funner, as I said, because you're not dealing with people that are dropping to the ground like every 10 seconds. You can do this, and you can basically infinite combo them till you can knock them down in one combo. So we're moving our way. We're at our first boss, and basically, well, it's not the first boss of the game, but the first boss that we're going to be looking at here in the video, and probably the only boss. But basically, we're going to be taking him out pretty easily. Now, like I said, generally the bosses here also always have minions that accompany them, which is why I keep the supers for the boss. And that is your super very Streets of Rage 2, where he calls in basically an airstrike. Next, let's hit our rage meter. Let's take out all these guys. Let's focus on our boss. We want to do some damage to him. And basically we will be able to pretty much rush him down. Let's clear them out there. And like I said, if you want to keep your rage meters and your supers for the bosses, they are pretty easy. But at the same time, like I said, this game is tons of fun. So here we are. I'm going to show you the beginnings of a bonus stage. So basically your point here, like I said, it's one of those fake 3D racers. We're not going to play the whole stage because I will leave the surprise for you guys when you play, if you do pick up the game. But basically what you're trying to do is you're trying to make it to the end of the stage. All the vans that have little red triangles over them, you're trying to take them out. They will add to your overall time and allow you to make it to the end of the stage. So your point is to not run out of time. You also want to try to hit the least cars that do not have arrows over them because they actually subtract from your time. So if you hit too many cars or too many obstacles, you unfortunately will run out of time. Like here, you have to basically hit the jumps to make your way around these obstacles. Then, as I said, you take out the vans with the triangles while trying to take out the least other vehicles possible. You don't want to get innocents involved. And basically, these are the type of bonus stages you get. And I'm telling you, they get even crazier as the game moves along. So we're pretty much going to end the video here. I think after this, you have a pretty good idea of what this game is offering and if it is something that you can get into or not. So hopefully all of you enjoyed this type of video and it gave you a good glimpse at whether you should be picking up the takeover for this week, because that's the whole point of these, to see if you want to pick up the game or not. Now, as usual, don't forget that if you did like this video, as I said at the beginning, please hit that like button. Don't forget to subscribe to the channel if you aren't already. And as usual, I hope I'll see all of you in my next video.